Okay, so one of the very important things for you to be able to do is to distinguish the subject from the predicate in a sentence. So distinguishing the subject from the predicate ensures that you're going to be able to recognize both the subject and the verb in a sentence, which also means that you're going to be able to identify the main clause or the independent clause of a sentence. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the subject and the predicate, and then we're going to look at a couple of form function trees to talk about how to distinguish or to identify this split. So the subject in a sentence is the main focus of the sentence. Okay. So it's like the occasion for the sentence. Without a subject, we don't have the sentence. Okay. So very important to kind of be aware of that fact because the subject is not always the first word or set of words in a sentence. So part of this process of recognizing is starting to understand that it's not simply about where a word is positioned or which word it is. It's about looking at how the words function. A predicate is the finite verb in a sentence, and contains the predicate phrase. Okay. Um, And the predicate phrase is essential because that's going to be the remainder of the sentence, right? So you need both the subject and the predicate in order to have a sentence. So you need these two to have an independent clause, right? Which just means a functional sentence. Okay, so identifying a subject predicate split is actually fairly simple. It's just a matter of being able to identify the subject and the verb, right? So the subject and the predicate in the sentence. And once you can identify that, you can identify where that split happens. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down and take a look at this sentence, which should look familiar. So the spring court was a land of lush forests, and here we have our tree that we did, and we took a look at in one of our other videos. So the subject predicate split really is this part of the tree. Okay. On this side, we tend to have the subject. And on this side, we have the predicate. So this nodule is actually that split that we're looking to identify. So if we are creating a subject predicate split for this sentence, then this is it, right? The spring court is our subject. Was a land of lush forests is our predicate, right? That's our predicate phrase. And I will circle predicate phrase so you understand. So in terms of kind of looking at or thinking about that, this is what we're dealing with. If I'm asking you to identify the subject predicate split, it is as simple as being able to draw that little line and say the spring court is the subject and was a land of lush forests is the predicate. Okay, that's it. Let's take a look at another one. Tamlin murmured a soft, wordless sound. Okay. Once again, you'll see in our tree, we have that little split right here, where we have our subject and our predicate phrase. So all we're looking at is Tamlin, right? Our subject. From murmured, a soft, wordless sound, which is our predicate or our predicate phrase. So when you're doing the split, that's all you're doing. Let's take a look at the next one. As he trembled, his skin shimmered. So this one is a little different. We have as he trembled, his skin shimmered. So this sentence actually has a dependent clause and an independent clause. Okay. And all that means is I could say his skin shimmered. I'll come down just a little bit. I could say his skin shimmered. It would be fine, make complete sense as a sentence. If I said as he trembled, he'd be like, what? What as he trembled? So that means that that clause is dependent on the one that comes after. So the result of that is basically that the subject predicate split is a little bit different, right? Because we have an adverbial clause before our subject and our predicate phrase. So our little split happens here instead of where it was happening before, which means his skin is our subject and shimmered is our predicate. Okay. So those are the only things that you need to identify in terms of thinking about or looking at the subject predicate split. And the key to this is really to be able to identify the subject of an independent clause and the verb or the predicate phrase, right, of that same independent clause. So don't overthink the subject predicate split. It sounds much harder than it is. It's just a matter of doing something as simple as drawing a line or categorizing two different parts of a sentence to identify the difference between the subject and the predicate.